Here we go. Here we go. We live. It's 8:05. You know what show it is. Athletes Forum Podcast, College Sports Crew, home of the locker room. March Madness is finally here. And it's time to talk some brackets, right? Thank you all for joining, whoever's here. Appreciate, obviously, everyone coming in. And I just wanted to talk brackets, right? Well, later in the week, we'll break it down a little bit more in peace, but just go over a little bit of an instant reaction on the brackets. What are our thoughts? Who made it? Who missed it? What about thoughts on some potential upsets? Who has it? Who has an easy run? Who could get got? Right? That's all what this show's about, right? So, like I said, Athletes Forum Podcast, home of the locker room. Listen, if you're here, drop a comment. More importantly, this is an interactive show. Subscribe to the channel below, right? Athletes Forum Podcast. We're not only here, but we're also with College Sports Crew as well, too, right? So make sure you subscribe to those as well. And listen, let's get this thing rolling. Let's dive into the bracket, right? The field of 68 is finally here. March is finally here. I've been saying it for some time now that, listen, March is going to be fucking ridiculous, right? Even just look at the tournament play and what we got, right? We got, I forgot the one seed, maybe it was Miami, Ohio, or someone losing to an 8 seed in their tournament play, right? I got my Gators losing by 17. I got St. John's dominating UConn, right? I got Michigan, who's been dominant all year, now losing to Purdue. I got Vanderbilt coming out of nowhere. So it's like, listen, March Madness is going to be crazy this year. And I think the tournament play really just gave us a glimpse of what this tournament is going to look like, right? So if you're here trying to get the information for the perfect bracket, it ain't coming from me. It ain't coming from me. So we'll see how everything pans out. Let's go right to the chat. Which game are you most looking forward to watching? That is you know what? We're going to get to that one because there's some good games on the slate. And I think some teams could get got, as I mentioned. I think the one game I'm interested in most in looking forward to as I briefly look through this bracket, and we'll go through it here. Let's see here. Game I'm looking forward to the most. Man, there's some good ones out here. Honestly, you know what? I'll wait. Let's dive into the bracket a little bit, and we'll get there as well too. All right, so let's pull up the bracket here. Field of 68. This is gonna be a phenomenal bracket. All right, so again, we got the field of 68 here, right? Instant reaction, right? Let's head to the East. The East is brutal, right? The East is brutal. You look at the top 4 seeds. You got Duke, you got Kansas, right? You got UConn and Michigan State, right? As the top 4 seeds in the East is brutal. You know why? Because the best team that may come out the East might be the 5th seed, and that's St. John's. St. John's might listen. The defensive pressure that St. John's puts on teams, it's unlike any other. Just ask UConn. Sorry, Mrs. College Football Talk. Ask UConn though, right? A team that went 1-3 versus St. John's and Rick Pitino throughout the regular season in the Big East, and you have a GOAT at head coach in St. John's, right? So you look at the top 4, Duke flooded with injuries, right? I think they'll get past Siena, right? Ohio State, TCU is a toss-up. But then, St. John's versus Kansas, that's going to be an interesting game if those two meet up, right? Everyone's riding this South Florida hype versus Louisville. I don't know if I'm buying it yet, right? And then Michigan State versus North Dakota State, obviously we see how that pans out. UCLA versus UCF. UCLA could get got. All right. And then you look at UConn. How good is UConn right now? We don't know. We don't know how good the Huskies are right now. We don't know in regards to what they just came off in Big East play, because this is not the same team in 2023 and 2024. All right. This is a UConn team. I think they only got one returning player with experience from those teams, right? Alex Caravan. And this year he's only averaging 12 and shooting 4% from behind the arc. So, what is UConn going to look like? Is it an early exit for UConn? Let's just say they do beat Furman, right? I don't necessarily think getting to the Sweet 16 is a shoe-in, right? I don't think getting to the Sweet, because they really haven't shown at least these past couple games, that they are the UConn. At least I thought they were early in the season. Once I got off college football and started transitioning into basketball, I was a big fan of UConn. I thought they had played some tough games. I thought they got some quality wins. They just haven't finished strong down the stretch, right? Duke, right? You just seen Caden Boozer, who got extra minutes because Caleb Foster is hurt, really step up, right? Really not necessarily play like his brother, who is going to be probably the front runner for National Player of the Year, also a walking double-double, averaging 22 and 10, right? But Caden Boozer, is he the secret weapon until really Duke gets – if they're down 2 starters right now, even if they get one of those guys back, right? Can Caden Foster carry the load? Again, they should be fine at least getting to the Sweet 16, right? But the East is brutal. Kansas, right? Kansas is a team that, do we really know how good Kansas is? Do we really trust Kansas' best player is going to be able to even play the season? And Darian Peterson, even though he's been averaging 20 and shooting almost 40% from behind the field, right? Do we really trust Kansas is going to be at their full potential, right? At their full potential. And you talk about blue bloods, East is flooded with them. East is flooded with them. And listen, Grant, I agree with you. UCLA is hot right now. UCLA is hot. If anything, I'm more disappointed in Michigan State. I was higher on them, right? Because I did a show, right? This was right when Nebraska had played Michigan for the first time. And Nebraska was a team, 20-game win streak, right? Really coming into each other. Lost to Michigan. Michigan played Michigan State that Friday, and I was convinced Michigan State was going to win that game, right? I was convinced Michigan State would have been in Michigan's position right now, maybe even make a run towards the Big Ten title. They never panned out, right? So Izzo's got to get those guys rolling too, right? But as I mentioned before, you look at the East, full of blue bloods, man. Full of blue bloods, and you got to love it. And you got to love it. What my guy Chris said, he said, let's go whoever is 16 seed in the South. We'll get to the South. We'll get to the South. Hey, we'll get to your Georgia dogs too, right? I didn't forget about that, right? But the East is going to be hard to kind of figure out, right? I'm not buying the South Florida hype, right? I think Louisville could get past South Florida. South Florida, I saw this, and I'll give them the credit. The only team in Florida to win their conference championship, right? A little jab. But we'll see how everything pans out. But listen, the East is going to be brutal to pick. The East is definitely going to be brutal to pick. Let's head over to Arizona. Arizona fans don't like me. And to be frank, I'm cool with it. To be frank, I'm cool with Arizona fans not liking me. I'm not a big Arizona guy myself. Yes, they are a team that has probably looked, hindsight 2020, maybe the most dominant version of the Arizona teams we've seen in the past. But this is it. But Arizona is like, how if we translate it back to football, right? And people were saying that like, hey, like, I can't trust Ohio State until I see them physically beat Michigan. And they went on a 4-year streak where they didn't do that. Arizona, in the last 5 appearances in the March Madness, has not made it past the Sweet 16. They've always been a top 4 seed, never gotten to the Sweet 16, right? There's just something about Arizona, right, that I just can't trust. I just can't trust Arizona, right? And then I had an Arizona fan tell me, you're going to bring up the history factor for Arizona when we just saw Indiana win the national championship. I said, all right, good point. Good try. The only difference is that Indiana literally the year previous made it to the playoffs, was dominant, and just had a repeat performance to end up being national champions, right? Arizona can't even get past the Sweet 16. So listen, Arizona fans, they may not like me. It's all good. I can hang with it, right? So how far do I have Arizona going? To be honest, they get to the Sweet 16, in my opinion. Now, who they play there, yet to be determined. They'll get to the Sweet 16. I'll say that. Because if they run up against what could possibly be an Arkansas and a Calipari team, a Wisconsin team versus High Point, which we'll get to a second, those teams could beat Arizona, right? I won't bet the 401k, but bet the paycheck on it. Bet the biweekly paycheck on it, right? So, who is on? Let's go to the chat real quick. My guy Chris, who we got? Who's on upset alert for the first round? Listen, I'll look at because I haven't got through the full bracket, just looking at the 2, right? The East, right? I'm looking at the East and the West, right? Who is on? What happened here, Chris? All right. Who is on upset alert? All right. Let me give you a team that's on upset alert. Once this loads up. Okay. All right. I'm looking. Upset alert. Upset alert. To be honest, I'm going to say Wisconsin. All right. I'll get right to it now. I'm going to say Wisconsin is on upset alert. And this is why. You're probably like, High Point. High Point. High Point's a team that can run the floor. High Point's a team that's all about getting buckets. Not to mention, Wisconsin is a team that offensively they're good as well too, right? But you know how the tournament works, man. Right? Do you really want to play that battle versus a team that is scoring almost 90 points a game in High Point, right? Yes, I'm saying it, High Point, right? I think that listen, we always usually get a 12-5 upset at some point, throughout this tournament. If you're asking me, I'm going to put what's just between the East and the West side. Again, if you're just now tuning in, I didn't get to the other two, part of the bracket. So I'm just looking at the East and the West side. Just looking at those, I would say I would put Wisconsin on upset alert, right? A 5 seed losing to a 12 seed in High Point, right? And then you look at High Point, right? They're a team 30-4 throughout the regular season, right? Their two best players, Terry Anderson, Rob Martin, both scoring at least 16 points per game, right? And this is a team that is top. We're looking at the bracket, literally one of the top offensive teams, right, in March Madness, right? They're ranked 64 out of the top 68. So, if I'm looking at the bracket, I'm going to put Wisconsin on upset alert, right? But if they get past High Point, they got a good one versus probably going to be Arkansas, but we'll see how it pans out. But listen, if you're an Arizona fan, this is part hate, part messing around with you, right? Part I gotta see it to believe it. I'm gonna say right now, I don't have Arizona past 316, right? And that's just a personal decision on my part. Maybe not even be ideal, right? Bonta, right? Points leader this season, averaging 25 points per game, right? But he can't, as a freshman, it's a load to carry that type of weight, that type of pressure in March Madness, unless you're Carmelo Anthony, right? We haven't really seen a lot of freshmen do that. Once you get to this part of the season, it becomes how good is your guard play and the leadership of your guard play, and how much can you crash the board with your front court. So I don't know who they're going to play. I'm putting them on upset alert just because, because, again, they've just been too inconsistent, right? Losing games they shouldn't have lost. They should have beat Arizona. They should have beat Houston. Granted, those are two good teams. I know maybe might not be the best example, right? But it's just something about BYU and that team as a whole that I need to see more of. I need to see more of that team come together, because in March Madness, right, and when it's tournament play, anything can happen. Anything is going to happen, right? So if you just rely on the pressure of one player, and that player being 18, 19 years old, I think your team's going to be in trouble, right? I think your team's going to be in trouble. Now, listen, they have a good shooter in Richie Saunders. I can't forget about that. And one of the top point guards, Robert White III. Those two guys have to be a twin Robin version to AJ DeBonson, who's Batman. It is what it is. It is what it is, and that's just my opinion, right? Hey, keep the chat going. I appreciate everyone that's in here. If you are in here, subscribe to the channel, College Sports Crew, College Crew on X. Drop a comment, right? This is an interactive podcast. We're reacting to March Madness, right? Let's continue on that west side. Gonzaga. Listen, Gonzaga's sitting pretty because they're playing in Washington too, right? Kennesaw State got travel from Georgia. Georgia doesn't do well on the road, all Georgia teams, right? So, Gonzaga, that's going to be easy dub. Miami, Missouri, that could get interesting. I ain't going to front. I don't know much about those teams, right? I'm going to keep it a buck. If I don't know, I don't know, right? And then we got Purdue going against Queens. Queens, first time playing at the FBS level, first time in the tournament. Kudos to them. Kudos to New York. Kudos to the Tri-State. I'm a Jersey guy, but Purdue is going to be BTA. It's going to be BTA for Purdue. Purdue, listen, this was a team pre-conference tournament, probably would have been like a 3 or 4 seed. Obviously, they do what they do. They get to the Big Ten title, right? They put it on Michigan, right? And Big Ten champs, right? And they're led by Braden Smith. Probably gonna be, if they didn't come out, I think they did come out, but he's gonna be. Last year he was an AP All-American, if I remember correctly. But Braden Smith is a dog. Listen, we got some dogs in the tournament. And that might be something I'll talk about a little bit on Wednesday on my show, 805 Athletes Phone Podcast, College Sports Crew. Braden Smith is a dog, right? Right. We'll talk about some of the dogs in this tournament. He's gonna lead this Purdue team, right? They're gonna get past Queens. They'll get to the Sweet 16, right? Let's see. Potential matchup in the Sweet 16. It doesn't matter who comes between those 4 teams. Between BYU, whoever it is, Gonzaga. I think now we're looking at Elite 8 for Purdue. Listen, I'm giving my bracket away. But Purdue's gonna be just fine, right? They're a team that is peaking at the right time, right? So we went through the East. We went to the West. Let's keep scrolling down. Who else we want to go into? Let's go to Midwest. All right, Michigan. Yaxel Lundenburg is a dog. Is a straight dog. Now, granted, they lost to Purdue in the Big Ten title. I get it. But if you take what he's done throughout the season and his performances in multiple games when it's needed, right? Yaxel Lindenburg is a name you're going to have to keep an eye out for, right? Not just that. This is a team that, despite what you saw in the Big Ten championship, this team, Morris Johnson Jr., Andy Mara, right? We got Rodney Gale Jr., Trey McKinney. This is a team that has some dudes on there, and they're all 6'4" or taller, which means they got length, length, right? Lindenberg, he's averaging 14 points a game, 7 rebounds, right? And he shows up when he has to. And that's all March Madness is about. He shows up when he has to, right? Now, how as a team are they going to rebound from coming off, again, this lackluster performance versus Purdue? And that's not to take anything away from Purdue, but now you're a 1 seed, you're in the biggest dance. Now we got to get this thing rolling. Right? And then there's that team below, Georgia and St. Louis, right? This is Georgia's best offensive team in a long time, right? Shout out to Mike White. I think he's still there, right? Shout out to Mike White. How does Georgia battle versus St. Louis for the likes to play Michigan? Talk about it's one of those 8-9 matchups you got. It's going to be tricky. That's one of those 8-9 matchups you got. It's going to be tricky, right? And then you got Texas Tech. Listen, I'll go back to that question, right? Question in the chat. And again, if you're here, there's a couple people in here. I appreciate you diving in. Drop a comment. Question in the chat that I'm going to go back to. Who is on upset alert in the first round? I just got down to another division. Texas Tech is on upset alert versus Akron. That sounds crazy just coming out of my mouth, but Texas Tech is on upset alert versus Akron. Akron's a team. Don't sleep. I'm telling you right now. This is another one of those tricky 12-5 matchups. Don't sleep on Akron, right? Akron is led by their guard, Tamari Johnson, right? I hope I said his name right. But Tamari Johnson, and this is a program that has won they've won the MAC 3 years in a row. First team to do that in a long time, right? In a long time. Not to mention, I think they're playing in Ohio, right? They're playing in Cleveland. This is going to be a home game for Akron. Now, Texas Tech, again, down JT Turpin. Again, we know that. They've been down with him for a while now. I think since I forgot what game. It was either one of those big games. Houston, Arizona, Kansas. So Texas Tech knows how to play without JT. They're unsung leader, right? But I'm telling you right now, people are going to sleep on Akron. People are going to automatically put Texas Tech ahead of Akron. Do not sleep on Akron, right? Do not sleep on Akron, all right? Alabama Hofstra, listen, this is cute. Let me take a step back. Here at College Sports Crew, don't get it twisted. We're a heavy SEC network, right? But with that being said, we got some friends in here, right? I got some friends who's a Georgia fan. I got some friends who's a Alabama fan. It's cute that they're both in the Midwest. It's cute that both those teams are in the Midwest, right there. Georgia and Alabama, right? Alabama playing Hofstra. Hofstra is a team not to sleep on as well, too. I think Alabama might get them, though. I'm not going to call that necessarily an upset. But Hofstra's a good program, right? Hofstra is a team that, prior to obviously coming into, the tournament, has been really missing in regards to the dance, in regards to, March Madness, right? Cruz Diaz, though. I'm giving you a name. Cruz Diaz, averaging 20 points a game, 4 assists per game, shooting over 40% from the field. Alabama better guard him. Alabama better learn how to guard Cruz Davis, right? He's shooting 37% from 3, if I remember correctly, right? Cruz Davis is good, all right? So, Austin, don't sleep on Hofstra. Don't sleep on Hofstra either as well, too, my friend. Let's keep scrolling down. Who else we got? You know what? If you would have told me this team is, first of all, let's skip past Tennessee. I'm not, as a Gators fan, I can't even look at the Tennessee logo. All right, so we'll skip right past Tennessee. If you would have told me this team I'm about to mention next would be dominant on offense, if you told me 5 years this team is going to be dominant on offense, I would have told you you're full of shit. And that's the University of Virginia. The University of Virginia is a team that is now about offense. That is now about offense. This is a team over the past couple of years, right? Team over the past couple of years has been very dominant on the defensive side. Very dominant on the defensive side. This is also a team that was the 1 seed and lost to a 16 seed, right? And lost to a 16 seed. So, Virginia, I think they could be dangerous. I think Virginia could be dangerous. And I think Virginia could be dangerous because not only do they play defense, but they can score. They can score. Listen, 29-5 in the ACC. All right, I think they could get to the Elite Eight. Right, held their opponents to under 56% from the arc. Right, that means they cover outside well with their length, their size. Right, Virginia could be dangerous. Right, let's see what their path is. Let's see what Virginia's path is. Obviously, Wright State. I think they'll take care. I think they'll get to the Sweet 16. When you get to the Sweet 16 Elite 8, that's when it gets interesting, especially in this conference. I said the East was brutal. The Midwest is kind of brutal as well, too, especially this lower half, right? But I like Virginia. I like Virginia a lot, right? Kentucky versus Santa Clara. I think Kentucky could get got. This is why. There's a mismatch, right? There's a mismatch with the front court. Santa Clara's bigs can play ball. All right. As a Gators fan, trust me, I know all about playing Kentucky. It's kind of been boring playing Kentucky. We beat them multiple times throughout the season and in the tournament, right? Playing Kentucky. And if there's anybody that knows about a mismatch in regards to bids versus Kentucky, is this guy right here, right? Just ask my guy Condon. Just ask my guy Ruben Chinlelu, right? Santa Clara's got some bigs that will give Kentucky some fits. So I'm going to go ahead and call now. I'm going to say Santa Clara beats Kentucky, right? I'm going to say Santa Clara beats Kentucky, right, in the first round, right? So listen, you know what I'll do on Wednesday? I'll fill out the bracket, right? All right, Chris, you're in here. You're going to ask me what my topics are for Wednesday. I'm going to go with dogs to know, and I'm going to fill out a bracket. All right, I'm going to fill out a bracket. Speaking of Chris, let's dive into our next question in the chat. The over-under for the Georgia game is 175 because Georgia sucks at defense. Hey, listen. Chris is a Georgia fan, so he knows about Georgia, right? Not only do they suck at defense, but this has kind of been a trend not just in basketball and football as well, too, right? They haven't been living up to the defense from the Kirby Smart days as well. Listen, I'm playing with you, Chris, right? But 175, you know what? I'm going to take the under. Because it's something to say when you have your season on the line that might turn up the defense just a little bit more, right? That might turn up the defense just a little bit more, right? So I'm going to take, I'm going to place that bet, right? I'm going to place that bet here, Hard Rock. I'm going to give them a free ad shout out, right? Hard Rock bet. Why don't you sponsor the program, right? I'm going to take 175 the under in that Georgia game, right? Just so everyone knows, right? Now, as I say, Santa Clara is going to upset Kentucky. Clip it, post it everywhere, throw it on TikTok. Kentucky fans can come at me. Go Gators. I don't care. Santa Clara, is going to beat Kentucky. Now it's going to make interesting content if Kentucky wins. I don't know about showing for the show, but anyway. And then we got Iowa State, Tennessee State, right? I think Iowa State takes care of business, right? I think Iowa State is going to be interesting. To be honest, this bottom half of the Midwest bracket, I like Virginia a lot. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like, as I fill out my bracket, which I'll do on Wednesday. All right. We went through the East. We went to the West. We went to the Midwest. Now let's go to the South. Listen, as a Gator fan, I gotta say it. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty losing to Vanderbilt by 17. It wasn't pretty with the amount of turnovers we had. It wasn't pretty that in the SEC tournament we were shooting 33% from the field. Something happened with Florida in the SEC tournament. Maybe the heads got too big, right? Maybe we lost some of our hunger, right? It's a new season. That loss might have been something we needed, right? Because some things were exposed that we have to get fixed. And I'm confident Tom Connor will get it fixed. But listen, you can't have the turnovers, right? Even though last year we were an experienced team, the national championship team, this year we're experienced in our front court. So guys like Xavier Lee, transfer from Princeton, we got to step it up. We got to step it up. Listen, Condon and Chinlelu, right? I'm trusting the experience from the Florida's front court to carry Florida throughout this tournament. If that doesn't happen, we will lose. I don't know when we'll lose, but we will lose, right? Let's dive into it a little bit. All right, let's dive into the bracket a little bit. So Florida, the last one seed to make it, right? Doesn't matter who we get. We'll advance past that game. Then we got Clemson, Iowa. I'm gonna be honest, that's a toss-up. I probably lean Iowa, in my opinion. Clemson, I know they do have a good offense as well too, but Iowa, something about Iowa and the Midwest when it comes to ball, and those guys know how to do it. Vanderbilt, to be honest, I hope we get Vandy again. I hope we get Vandy again, right? I want the smoke. I want the rematch, right? I hope Florida gets Vandy again, right? And that'll be in the Sweet 16. That'll be something I'm here for. Right? Nebraska. Let's go back to the question. It was proposed in the chat. Who's on upset alert first round? Nebraska, right? Listen, this is a team literally has not won a game in the NCAA tournament. This is a team that at one point in the season was on a 20-game win streak before they lost to Michigan and then ended up losing a couple more other games down the road. This is a team that doesn't really have that experience, in my opinion, needed in this type of setting. Troy's got to beat Nebraska. And if Troy doesn't beat Nebraska, Vandy's going to beat Nebraska, right? Nebraska is good for at least one game. I don't even know if I'll give them that. Listen, North Carolina, VCU, I'm not going to say it in regards to put it out there, but I'm going to say North Carolina, watch out for VCU because VCU is a dangerous team. And it's funny how you have these schools, these programs that get into March Madness, and it doesn't really matter what year it is. They always live up to their role, right? You got who is it? You got your VCUs, right? That'll do that every once in a while. You got your Butlers, right? That'll do that every once in a while. Your Hofstras that have a history of upsetting teams in the while. You just have these group of teams that know how to play their role, and it's just funny. It's just funny to think about that. So VCU, they can upset North Carolina, right? North Carolina is led by their good freshman guard here. Let me get his name. All right. Where's he at? Caleb Wilson, 19 points per game, 9 rebounds, right? One of the greatest freshman guards, honestly, that ever played at North Carolina, and that's saying something. Now, he did hurt his thumb, right? So how is that going to come into play? But VCU is, I'm so close to saying it. I'll just say North Carolina, watch out for VCU. I don't know where I'll go with that one. We'll have to wait till Wednesday to see, right? Who else we got? Illinois, man. I was so high on Illinois. Right? And then, to be honest, this is kind of a theme that has happened throughout the whole year. I would get the length of that team, right? That's a team that literally size is everything, right? Led by Keenan Wagler, right? 17 points per game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists per game, shooting 40% from the field, right? Not to mention Kalen Boswell is his co-partner, his partner in crime, so to say, when it comes to that as well, too. I like Illinois, right? I need Illinois to play like beginning of January Illinois and not down the stretch Illinois. I need Illinois to be better, right? Will they be better? I don't know. We'll find out. Sorry. Acid reflux. Acid reflux. St. Mary's versus Texas A&M. The Aggies are back in the dance, right? I don't have much on this game, just full transparency. SMC is favored by 2.5, right? So we'll see how all that comes together, right? But St. Mary's will probably get the win, but we'll see what happens. But Houston, this is a different Houston team than what Calvin Sampson's used to. This is a Houston team actually led by their guards versus their veteran backcourt, right? So how do those three freshmen really lead what Calvin Sampson wants to do? And that's play hard-nosed ball, attack you on defense, right? And really play from court to court, right? So Houston, I'm excited to see what that looks like. Maybe when they get to the Sweet 16, they start getting some real competition, right? So that's the bracket, man. I tell you, I think the East and the Midwest, they got. It's gonna be hard to pick those. Those two brackets, those two divisions are gonna mess up everybody's bracket, right? Because you could probably pick like 3 teams from each of those divisions that could win it, and a sleeper that could take it to the Elite 8 maybe, right? It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. But listen, we're here, Athletes Forum Podcast, College Sports Crew. The bracket is going to be crazy. March Madness, going to be crazy. Wednesday, tune in, right? 8:05, we live. Athletes Forum Podcast, the home of the locker room. What we're going to do, and Chris is still on here. You can write this down. Chris is our producer for College Sports Crew. We're going to talk about dogs in the dance, right? Dogs in the dance and how they might help their team get to where they're going to be. We're going to do the Athletes Forum Podcast bracket, right? We're going to fill out the bracket, right? All the way up to a champion, right? Let's see if anybody in the chat can sway me, give me some ideas, maybe have me go a different way. But tune in, because on Wednesday at 8:05, Dogs of the Dance, filling out bracket. Maybe I'll give you some college football talk, but we're in bracket season now, right? We might have to take a break from college football, right? Because now it's about the dance. Now it's about 12:05 on Thursday on your phone at work, disregarding any email, any meeting you're on, and watching some college basketball. For all the people that are here, there's a couple of you guys in the chat. Drop a comment, but more importantly, like the video, share with a friend, subscribe. College Sports Crew on TikTok, College Sports Crew on YouTube, College Crew on Twitter, Athletes Forum Podcast. I'm your host, Jamal Clay, Athletes Forum Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in.